Okay. We will pause the recording. We will be having John Anthony Castro joining the Caribbean Thought class today. We'll be talking about American politics and American politics is important to Caribbean. And so this is important. And I hope that the students will fully appreciate this. And I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I updated the background. Since we're talking about Caribbean thought, so this looks good. We will do this. All right. Good. And I will pause. Let's this. The strategy is different. The strategy of penetration. Okay. The strategy of domination is different. While Russia today is using force, while Russia today is using coercion, while Russia today is penetrating Ukraine through force or through war, a weaker country, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that. And I say to some of you, they are. If I say to some of you, in the 1980s. When the former USSR countries were breaking up, the Soviet countries were breaking up, okay? What happened was that it shook Mother Russia. But when these countries got independence, when these countries became nation states, they weren't supposed to be dominant. Their wealth weren't supposed to rival that of the former colonial master. It wasn't supposed to rival. Same thing with Cuba and these other countries that got independent. We weren't supposed to. So while the US used structural adjustment, used debt, used the CIA or their agents to penetrate and to invade and to keep other countries down or to develop factions between JLP and PNP, or you go to the People's Revolutionary Party in Grenada, whatever the case might be. Russia today is using coercion, while other countries are using some kind of sophistication to reassert their dominance. But Ukraine's dominance, Ukraine's growth and development threatens Russia's development, dominance in the region. Okay? And so when we talk about small countries like the Caribbean, smaller countries, and I said to you, when you study in Caribbean, part of the approach to studying Caribbean thinking must not be done in a vacuum or in isolation of what pertains in the world today, especially that we are talking about globalization. And today is, by the way, today is National Unplugged Day or Global Unplugged Day. Today, do you know, by the way, you guys might have heard about that. Today is National Unplugged Day or something of the sort, National Unplugged Day or Global Unplugged Day. And if you know, the Unplugged Day or the Unplugged Day, they're talking about digital technology and streaming. Studies show that average Americans, and we're in America now. I mean, average Americans in the U.S., but and in Jamaica and in the I don't know what it is like in the Caribbean, but screen time, social media, screen time is the average American spend at least what they said 7 hours per day, something of the sort. But the studies show that over 85% of Americans spend at least 30 minutes on screens, streaming, movies, videos, whatever the case might be. Okay, so we know that we are aware of that. So today is supposed to be the National Unplugged Day. People were supposed to unplug. But I said to you, but I responded by saying life is about people and how people relate. Life is about people and how people relate, how people communicate. So of course it stands, and what technology does, it speeds up the relationship, and not only that, especially people that live, especially in a world of travel where people are constantly traveling, and the fact that this is not just technology has become much more sophisticated, so now it has speed up travel, but it has speed up communication as well in terms of how we communicate, how we talk to people. So I can be in Jamaica and I'm talking to you right now. So we're talking about there are benefits to streaming. There's benefits to technology. to technology. But the fact of the matter is that the point I'm making is that we live in a global village. We live in a global world today, where whatever happens in one country affects another country. But especially in the Caribbean, we talk about the Caribbean and Jamaica being a very vulnerable society, open to exogenous shock. Yes, Jamaica and especially Jamaica, it's part of the Americas. We're part of the Americas, and we talk about, and the dominant country in the region is the U.S. And then we talk about in Eastern Europe, you talk about Russia being a dominant country there, and then you talk about if you go to parts of the Orient, in Asia, talk about China being China, I guess that's between China and Japan, but everybody there's this dominant country, and then there are smaller countries, and so the question is, what these countries, what do they look like? What independence do they have? How can they chart their own, carve out their own lives? Yes. So I am making this point. The point if some of you were just joining us, I'm saying to you, you might be asking, what is the importance of having somebody like a John Castro, a very important figure in American politics? He's a known figure. Well, he's not the Speaker of the House or whatever, but he's running as a 2024 presidential candidate. And I believe that as Caribbean people, because we are affected significantly by strategy, yes, by strategy in the world. And so I say to you, not only should we just look at what's going on within our local, but we have to have an idea of what's going on in America and in the world. We have to study American politics, because American politics affect Jamaica. Yes? What is happening in the US and the decisions that are made, it also have a bearing. And then we talk about the diaspora, which is also a very important aspect aspect of smaller countries and Caribbean. The diaspora plays a very important role. And so therefore we are happy to have John Castro joining us for the class today. And he will be providing us with a lecture.
Sorry, I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. It looks like an issue with the router and echo device, so try restarting them. Unplug both of them, then plug the router back in. Wait 30 seconds. Once the router is back on and connected to the internet, plug in the echo device.
Sorry about that. That was echo. That was Alexa. I'm using.
Sorry, I'm having trouble.
Okay, you're talking too much now. Okay, right. You guys can still hear me. So that's where we are. So welcome to the class. He is going to be presenting from about 6:30 to about. He's going to be presenting from about 6:30 to about 7:30. 6:30 to 7:30. And then you might have questions for him. Some of you might have done some research on him before. By the way, he is, I think he's a first generation American. Do you know what I mean by that? Do you guys know what I mean by first generation American?
Can I expound on it, sir?
Do you know what I mean? I said he's a first generation American.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What do I mean?
His generation is the first to be American from his family.
If he has been like
Wait,
you were not born there. So if your child is born there, he would be.
Wait, hold up. What's going on?
I make time for.
Is somebody playing something?
I choose.
Sorry, I apologize. I don't even know how that happened just now. I thought you guys were playing music, but then sorry, something was playing in the background. Continue. What were you was it Christine or Patrice or Jason? Christine, go ahead.
So I was saying that if like he would be your child, that would be first generation, not, for instance, not you, because you migrated. And so this person, if he had been your offspring, That would be first generation.
But he was born in the US, so but his parents weren't. His parents are from
Right.
So
Basically is what
therefore,
I'm
he's
saying.
first
Right.
generation American, right? So
Right.
that's who we would. So that's very important. So that's why we say he's first generation. I believe his parents are from Mexico, and they served in the military, and he was born on a military base. And this is a guy that lived in Dallas, Texas. And if you follow the story about John Castro, it's a very powerful story of someone who worked hard, who took advantage of opportunities to get to where he is in life today. And he took advantage of the opportunities and he talks about that. But at the same time, he talks about, yes, he might be an example of people who can work hard and get to the next level. So when you talk about countries like Jamaica, why they are not as developed as they ought to be, given so on and so forth, those who argue that, well, they didn't plug themselves in, they didn't apply themselves to the formula, okay, or the formula was haphazard or whatever. And we are having various discussions in the class as it relates to what has dogged the Caribbean. So today's class is quite, so when you look at his story, someone who is a first generation American, who is running for president, who's a multimillionaire, president of AI Tax, president of Castro and Company, running against Donald Trump and running for president. That is a great achievement. That's a great feat. And one of the reasons why I want to have him is to talk as an example for us as people, what we can do when given, irrespective of who we are and our circumstances, we can rise above. But then he will tell you that, yes, there are opportunities, but the opportunities are still far in between, okay? Competition is not fair. Life is not fair. Life doesn't provide, and of course, there are those who don't. Some people have opportunities. Some people are able to escape. Now, by the way, some of you did life and death. Some of you submitted a review on life and death, and I have said, as it relates to life and death, I asked the question: how when you're reviewing a piece of film, or if you're reviewing anything, you always want to talk about how does it affect you at the psychological level, at the philosophical level, at the theological level, at the spiritual level. You always want to, when we ask to review something, a piece of work, a piece of literature, a piece of art, a film or whatever, you always want to talk about how does it affect you as an individual. And then when you review film, you will always want to ask the question, is it believable? Is it believable? Because of course, film tries to tell a story. When you watch a film, the purpose of film is to purport truth. It is to purport a type of truth. And we said that in the beginning of the last class that we had, is that documentary film, according to Leacock and Rauch, documentary film that uses handheld 3mm camera is used in that way because documentary film tries to depict a certain kind of truth. So the lens and the editing and so on is done in a way to tell the truth, okay? But then, and I say to you, but nothing is free from perspective, okay? So of course you're gonna say, well, I believe that this particular film talks about what has dogged Jamaica, but I believe that it was couched, it was lopsided. And I talked about the fact that I believe that it was lopsided in one sense, but in another sense, it was very effective. It was very effective in highlighting what has happened, the mixed realities of the Caribbean. Okay, so you want to talk about how it affects you at the psychological level, at the theological level. You might even want to talk about how it affects you at the legal level. So, but how does it affect you? And of course, you want to you want to stay away from using I. When you write, and I said to you, just for those of us who read, so those of us who are following and following my reviews and so on. These things that I give you when I review your work and I give you little gems, it's very important that you look at them. I say, okay, because I'm giving you so that when you go into your final research paper, of course, you know how to. So this is a dress rehearsal, so to speak. So you give me, as you give me work, I review your work, and based on what you have given me, then I would give you a recommendation as to what to do. Now, one of the things that I want to get some time to talk with you about is reference and how to document properly. That is one of the major problems with a lot of some of our work. We are not documenting properly. I want to do at least a 30 to 1 hour class where I talk to you about the importance of documenting and what it is. I think people, even after I graduated from Jamaica Theological Seminary, I think I did not appreciate and fully understand the importance of documenting. I think that is very important, especially when you begin to write and when you start to appreciate writing. Documenting is very important, especially in academia, okay? Because part of documenting is also recognizing people's work and giving credit for people's work, yes? And of course, we live in a society where I talk to you about the fact, say, for example, Pythagoras theorem or algebra. Who created algebra or the person who founded or created certain things, they weren't recognized for doing the thing that they were created to do. And many Black and brown peoples and things that Black and brown people did and work that they did escape them because we don't write, we are verbose, we don't write. People, through theft, they steal your work and it becomes other people's work. We don't want to commit the same crime, okay? We want to recognize people when we borrow from them, but at the same time also document how you interact with work. That's another thing I want to spend some time. And this class is not about that, but we will spend some time to do that later on. Not next week, but probably week after next. I want to really spend, and it's just to support you in your future endeavors, okay, in terms of how you write, how you speak, when you are speaking about issues in an academic way or making commentaries on issues of the day, okay, how you interact with different sources and how you transit, how you move from one theme or one topic to the next, how you, say, for example, somebody was writing about Marcus Garvey and talk about, and begin the paper by talking about Marcus Garvey, talk about this propaganda and how societies were built on propaganda. What does that have to do with life and death? It has everything to do with life and death. I am already seeing the relationship, but you have to show how this idea of propaganda, false truth, lie, how the film Life and Death speak to that, okay? Because I said to you, what is revolutionary about films like Life and Death, documentary film, is that people are used to films where the characters and the stars are who? What do they look like? What language do they speak? Where are they from? But then films like Life and Death and so on interrupts through violence, okay, our visual by showing unusual characters that we're not used to seeing on the screen. That's what V.S. Naipaul did in his literary genius. That's what Homi Bhabha is talking to when she talks about how she celebrates people not at the center, but those at the periphery, okay? She celebrates those people that you don't usually see, the stories that get left behind, yes? Or the people talk about globalization and capitalism as beautiful, but then you take a stop, oh no, globalization has not created the kind of prosperity that it ought to be, yes? And we talk about this propaganda. So yeah, how does this idea of propaganda and how is he using propaganda? And how does Life and Death speaks to propaganda? So when, and the next point I want to talk to you about as it relates, we're coming up on 6:30, and we talk about life and death, is, I said to you earlier, I think in the group, I think I sent a text out in the group, and in the text, I said to you guys that one of the things that you notice with the film, by the way, before I went to University of Penn, and did cinema and globalization. I did a course called Cinema and Globalization. The way how I view film has changed significantly. It's that when I'm watching film, it's like I'm reading a book. You talk about what's the plot? Why is it taking so long to develop the storyline? Who are the characters? The characterization. So when you review a film, you want to look at the plot. What is the plot? What's the setting? What are the assumptions? Why did the video spend some time, focus on that little, that key that fell on the ground? Why? Anytime the camera shows something is a reason. When you start to watch film, you have a different appreciation for it. And when you see what goes into making a film, and of course now I'm experimenting with video editing, okay? And sometimes the editor is very careful about what he puts because he wants a certain effect, and what music is on the background because he wants a certain effect. So this word is very important. Scenes. When films are built, they use scenes. Scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4. And sometimes scene 4 is done before scene 1, but they mix it up and they give it to you. So film don't have to follow a unilinear. It could be multifaceted because it's telling a story and it is trying to tell a story, but of course, film not supposed to be anachronistic. Notice the word anachronistic. That's a very important word, anachronistic. In other words, when I talk about anachronistic, in other words, it should be smooth. Okay? It should be smooth and seamless. Yes? So one of the things when you talk about, if I ask you to review a film or to review something, I'm like, okay, they ask you the first thing, is it true? What is the plot? What is the theme? What message is the writer, the author, the videographer, or whatever? What is he trying to get across? Did he make the message? How did the film affect you at the emotional level? Is it lopsided? Okay. What areas failed and what areas were effective? And as it relates to Caribbean thought and our assumptions about Caribbean, how does it speak to that? Okay, but of course, you talk about the background of the book. Nobody talked about how this book was based on how this film was based on Stephanie Black's book, A Small Place. Sorry, Jamaica Kincaid's book, A Small Place, that talks about US penetration in Antigua and how it affected them, and how that book is about Antigua, but the film is about Jamaica, which talks about the dialogical relationship. Okay, very important. So this allows me to see where you are and to provide some advice and so on and so forth. So it's not, as I said to you, when I give critique, I want to give constructive critique. It is when I give critique, it's not to tear you. I'm not tearing you down. I want to build you up so that you are amazing. Okay, so that you are empowered and you can become stalwart academics. Yes, who understand certain things. So that's good. But so far, by the way, one person submitted a piece of work which I am going to share in class next week or something. We're gonna end class early today. We will end about 7:45, 8. Today we will end early. But and I will give you an opportunity to, for those of us who haven't done any work, you can spend some time to get some work done. I don't know if John Castro has joined us as yet. I don't see him on the screen. So he will be joining us in 2 minutes. So that's why and then notice that, by the way, after this class, the next lecture, we're going to be talking about corruption. We're going to be talking about corruption, and that's very important. And also, we have not talked about the discovery of oil in the Caribbean. And by the way, there is a story as it relates to what's in terms of the Haitian, about CARICOM intervening through force in Haiti. The CARICOM has decided that they will not intervene in force. That's great. That is great. That's a good story for you to follow. Daniel, I see your hand up. Daniel, you had I see your hand up. Daniel? Okay. Okay, probably your hand was up. Oh no, sorry, that your hand wasn't up. So right, so that's what we're talking about with Hanif. Yes.
Sorry. What did you ask, sir? I'm very sorry. What were you saying, sir?
No, I said no, I thought somebody's hand was up. John Castro is from the lineage of. Oh, that's
no.
a good question. I will, you know what? I'll let you ask him that. You ask him that. And that means some of you didn't watch my 1.5 hour interview that I did with him last year. I did a video interview with him the first time I had him on the show. That was one of the we asked about that. And you know what? To be honest, especially if you are from Jamaica and the Caribbean, and you know Jamaica's relationship with Fidel Castro, we're gonna probably that's I asked him that question. Are you related to Fidel Castro? Okay, but I'm gonna let him answer that question. Okay. All right, let's take a quick 1 second break and then and let's see if it's now 6:30. He should be joining us in a couple seconds. So don't go anywhere. By the way, I need to see you guys. Remember what we said about this week? We want to see everybody's face. All right, we want to see you guys on the screen this week. Okay. All right, just hold on just a second. Let me contact Mr. Castro real quick, see if he has the link. We are back, everybody. Welcome. Welcome back to the class, guys. And John Anthony Castro, the US 2024 presidential candidate, president of AI Tax, president of Castro and Company, a graduate of Georgetown Law, and he also graduated from Harvard with a business certification. And we are happy that he is here. Mr. Castro, welcome to the Jamaica Theological Seminary and to my Caribbean Thought class. Welcome, sir. Okay, great. And I'm going to ask students, welcome those of us who have our things muted. Please, let's see your faces. So now today we have with us John. As I was saying before John came on, we have John with us, and we've been talking about American politics, and also that as Caribbean people, we should be very interested in what's going on in the US, because when America sneezes, we catch a cold. Okay, so we are happy now. We talked about Mr. John Anthony Castro, and we are happy. A first generation. Are you a first generation American? Oh, we are not hearing John. Hold on.
Oh, sorry about that. Jeez,
yes.
I thought you were hearing me this whole time. And everything.
One of the students asked if you were first generation. John, are you there? Guys? Guys?